This bill would also address two other important priorities. First, it provides urgent funding for Ukraine. I'm wearing my Ukraine tie, my Ukraine pin, which I've been wearing because they're in dire straits right now defending themselves against a Russian onslaught, a brutal conquest. The clock is ticking. Every week, every month that passes without new aid to Ukraine means fewer artillery shells, fewer air defense systems, fewer tools for Ukraine to defend itself against this Russian onslaught. Just what Putin wants. Every day between now and November, the American people are going to know that the only reason the border is not secure is Donald Trump and his MAGA Republican friends.
What's going on, everyone? It's Oscar here today. We're going to be talking about the bipartisan border bill and why conservatives hate it. Now, I wanted to kind of give an update because it seemed like a lot of news has been circling around the whole the bipartisan border deal. And one of the biggest reasons why conservatives don't like the bill at all, and that why we're pressuring our representatives not to vote for it, is that it does nothing for the border. Here's an example of the solutions that conservatives want, because it's not a true compromise. Additional asylum officers. So you want to increase more processing. So instead of cutting off the flow of migrants, instead of disincentivizing migrants from coming here, you rather want to be able to process them faster. Because at the end of the day, the burden's the same. It's mass immigration. Mass immigration is not what the country needs right now. We see the heavy toll these migrants are taking. You see in New York, the migrants are so entitled that they can't eat the food that we give them, or that we already paid for with our tax dollars in New York. Now New York is thinking about adding them in food stamps, aka SNAP, so they can buy their own food since they didn't like the food that we gave them already, that we already paid for with our tax dollars. So we have to spend more tax dollars so they can eat the food that they want. Treating America like a hotel. This is what the conservatives have a problem with. We don't want to process more migrants. That's the contention point. And there's no compromise there. Oh, we'll stop at 5,000. Oh, some compromise that is. And everyone knows, hey, look, based on politics, based on optics, everyone's going to blame the Democrats more than they're going to blame the Republicans. If we don't even have at least, in my view, if nothing from the Secure the Border Act made it into that bipartisan bill, I don't want it. And we're going to get into some examples before I get into that. I want to give you a clip. This is a Trump ad campaign. I'm being transparent here. But I want you guys to see where's the lie. They want us to process more of these illegal migrants, these asylum seekers who seems to be overwhelmingly male, young men. And you tell me, do we really want a bill that increase processing people like this, or increase the probability of us having more people like this in our country? Let's take a look.
6 men have been charging that brutal attack caught on camera.
A shocking act of violence.
2 NYPD officers beaten in Times Square.
All of those arrested were released without bail.
Why did these 4 individuals be released on their own recognizance?
The Biden administration is fighting to release as many migrants as quickly as possible.
I'll reverse Trump's detrimental asylum policies. There's no need for us.
Biden administration reversed Trump's policy on remain in Mexico.
Joe Biden to stop construction of the border wall.
It's a new day on the southern border. Here we go. The policy that made it easy to kick out migrants is gone.
He inherited the lowest rate of illegal immigration, and he immediately reinstated catch and release. And so when they apprehend people, they let them go.
So you seen that? You heard that. You definitely heard that. The detrimental border policies of Donald Trump. We want those detrimental policies. And this is what I'm talking about with liberals. They frame things. They don't really debunk anything. They try to reframe your perspective on it. We want less migrant encounters at the border. Is increasing processing incentivizing more migrants to come through or less migrants to come through? But if you put a border wall there, if you say, hey, you have to remain in Mexico to make an asylum claim. Hey, your asylum claim is automatically denied if you pass another country to get to the U.S. Would that disincentivize migrants from coming here? Which one sounds like the better option? Which one sounds like my preferred solution to the border? This is why I said that anytime you hear bipartisanship, oh, we have come to a compromise, usually the Republicans compromise more than the Democrats. Because the Democrats, in my view, are the unreasonable party. They're not reasonable. And because they're not reasonable, it's up to the conservatives to be reasonable. You know, this is the scenario I like to play. This is the analogy I like to use between the Republican and the Democratic Party. You have this one guy, unreasonable. Another guy, he's very reasonable. And, you know, when something big happens, the unreasonable guy is making a lot of noise because the reasonable guy didn't want to do something he wanted to. He didn't want to compromise on something that he wanted to do. And everyone surrounding them is like, oh, come on, man. Just do it. You know he a little crazy. You know, just let him slide this once. Everyone around the world, everyone around the room is trying to convince the reasonable person to do something that the unreasonable person wants to do because the unreasonable person is not willing to back down from it. And this kind of encapsulates how I view the political world, at least. So, House Republican Mike Johnson ripped the Senate proposed border bill during an interview on Monday, saying that it would actually further incentivize illegal immigration. Johnson's remarks come after unveiling of the bill sparked widespread backlash from top Republicans across the country, including Ron DeSantis, Donald Trump, and House Republican leadership, and also Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell. It would not resolve any of the problems, not reform in any meaningful way the broken asylum system. And this is what we want. We don't want to add fuel to the fire of the broken asylum system. And this is what all the compromise that you saw what Joe Biden was trying to say. Joe Biden is trying to put up this picture of, oh, look, we're adding more asylum officers. We don't want more asylum officers. We want less of them. We want more border security. We want less of the asylum system. We want to create an incentive where asylum is not something that someone can get just by marching to the front of the border. It's something they have to apply for from whatever country they want to migrate. We don't want them to just show up at our front door and expect us to open the door. We want a note of approval, at least like a note of, hey, I want to come to your country. Here's my asylum process. Okay, say whatever you're at. Wait there. We'll process it. We don't want you coming physically to the border. That's the kind of solutions we want. That's why we want physical barriers, to make it harder for someone to just show up in front of in front of your house and then ask, "Can I live here? I have nowhere else to go." This is emotional blackmail. I don't understand how people don't see it, but hey, whatever. The broken parole process and all things have created this catastrophe, Johnson told Fox News host Lori Ingram. And by the way, meanwhile, it further empowers the very cabinet secretary who designed and created this mess, which is Mayorkas. Right? And it gives a lot of like, oh, we're going to give the power for the president to immediately shut down the border. Based on that ad, you think Biden's going to do that? No. Especially where he has a political incentive to keep illegal immigrants flowing into the country. Where in his mind, they're not trafficking just fentanyl and drugs and guns or whatever. They're funneling also Democrat votes. That's how he sees the illegal immigrants. When he hears, hey, 4,000 migrants cross the U.S. border, all he hears is 80% of them are future Democratic voters. That's all he saw. That's all he heard. So you think he wants to put a policy in place that's going to stop Democrat voters from flowing into the country? No. So he has a political incentive to keep the border open. This is why I'm saying this is not a real solution to the border problem. That's what, at least how I see it. Let me know how you see it in the comment section. They don't follow federal law, he says. And why would we do this anyway? But the bill itself would actually do more harm than good. And that's why we have to say it's a non-starter over in the House. I agree. I totally agree with that. 1,000%. Doesn't secure the border. A Republican senator now. Now we move from the House. Now we go into the Senate. Hey, he's coming out against the border. Initially, they're all for the border. Now, look what's in the bill. It's called border. It's supposed to be a bipartisan border security act, and I think I pointed this out on my last video on this topic. But 70% of the money that we're funding for the bill is going towards foreign aid than to actually address the border. Only $20 billion is actually going to go address the border, but it's called a border bill. This is not misinformation. Liberal journalists is not calling that out. Oh, this will secure the border. No, it'll say most of the money is going to aid. Nah. In my ideal world in politics, it should never be a situation where more money is going towards something outside of your household than inside your house. Imagine me. I spent 80% of my money outside of my household. Oh, you expect my wife and kids to have a riot? This is how we should be acting. This is how we treat the bill. But then they want to spin it and say, oh no, Trump wants to keep this as a campaign issue to run on. Cap. Senate McConnell Minority Leader Mitch McConnell signals retreat from the bill. McConnell has reportedly urged the Republicans in the Senate to vote against the bill that was unveiled in the Democratic-controlled chambers on Monday. House criticized the bill, has warned that the $118 billion package is gearing towards getting Biden reelected in a prospective 2020 rematch against former President Donald Trump, while Florida governor said that the bill legalizes illegal immigration. I believe that. I believe that framing, right? And I believe this is just a political ploy to try to create an optic that, oh, look, I tried to solve the border, but the Republicans didn't want to do it. They were crying about the border all day, but now we're willing to do something about the border. Now they don't want to do nothing about the border. This is all politically calculated. And that's the reality of this stuff. This is the reality. Here's like some talking points that I actually agree with 100%. The only acceptable deal is where 0 illegal immigrants get in. Does the bipartisan bill do that? No. Okay, move on. We're not extorted by Democrats to fund a war in Ukraine to protect our homeland. AKA, do not tie Ukraine funding with our border security. These things should be two separate bills. We spend more money at home than on foreign wars. Does the bipartisan bill meet that criteria? No, it doesn't. The bill should be called the Invasion Authorization Act. No, I believe it should be called it should be called the American Last Act. Because essentially, they just show you the priorities. These not Republicans, but these political officials. It shows you where their loyalty lies. If this is a Democratic senator generally believes that the fate of the free world is on the line in the war of Ukraine, that is demented. If he believes this, why wouldn't he be advocating direct deployment of U.S. troops? Dems are war hungry. Biden has U.S. involved in 3 new wars. Right, you got liberals out here. The fate of the world's on the line in the war in Ukraine. I wear my Ukraine tie. You saw Biden. But you name me a one time that Zelensky wore a U.S. pin as, oh, thanks for sending us so much money to help us in this war. No, he has his hand out I ain't gonna say it, but he has his hand out. You give him money and say thanks, and he's gone. He's like that family member that only comes around for money. Never show you any appreciation, any gratitude, but then feels entitled that you have to continue helping him in his mess. That's how Zelensky come across to me now. And look at Biden, right? This is where I got the video from. Look at Biden. He got a Ukraine pen. He got a Ukraine themed tie. Optics. He knows liberals love this. Liberals feel like liberals feel like they're in a movie, that they're the good guy. I don't understand where they get this fantasy land thinking of theirs. Here's Ed Katz's thing, because I try to show all perspectives here. Biden just told the American people exactly what Republicans are essentially voting against as a means to reportedly try and help Donald Trump. You see how they try to spin it? My argument as a conservative, right? I'm a genuine belief. Hey, none of the solutions there actually address the main concern we have with the border. You have not really compromised here. No. Right? It's a Democratic controlled Senate, so I understand why it's slanted towards them. But I'm like, this doesn't fix the border. If what you guys were doing, Democrats, if what you guys were doing was actually helpful at the border, you wouldn't be in the mess in the first place. I just showed you the ad. My second clip, I just showed you the ad. You rejected all of Trump's policies, and then you think more of your policies will help the situation? Make it make sense. Liberals are not results driven. They're politically driven. They're optic driven. But I digress. They're voting against 150 additional border agents, which is going to probably help with the encounters. That's going to increase because this is going to create an incentive to bring more migrants over. When migrants here, they added new officers, so they're going to process us in faster. That's going to create an incentive for more people to flow in. New asylum officers, I automatically disagree with this. New immigration judges, we don't want any new anything for processing is a non-starter for conservatives right now. 100 new machines to detect and prevent fentanyl from coming into America. I feel like that's a compromise. Okay, we got that in. Cutting asylum processing time. Nope. You see, that's where you already messed up, liberal. And this is my problem with liberals. They sit here and pretend that their way is the only way. No, the results has come in. Your ways don't work. You're just going to create a more incentive for people to come here more. The expansion of work permits, that's more an incentive for someone to come in. Increase illegal immigration visas. Bro, how is this going to stop the border? You see the optics? This is what I'm saying. Don't believe how people frame things. Judge it for yourself. Evaluate it for yourself. Because does this sound like it's like someone saying, hey, I save more money by spending more money. How? Hey, I have a plan that will solve our money problems. Okay, what? How does it go? Okay, we're gonna spend this amount of money on this. We're gonna pull in cash debt from this bank to pay this bill off. But I'm like, yo, but you're always gonna be in debt. Yeah, but you always gonna push the year next year. You know it's not a good idea. Emergency authority for Biden to shut down the border. Would he ever act on it? Because in effect, you're telling Biden, hey, shut down the border to stop Democrat votes from flowing into the country. He's never going to do that. The ability for Biden to unequivocally shut down the border as outlined by the law. And this liberal think it's a good thing. Show me you don't know how other people view an issue without telling me you don't know how other people view the issue. He only sees it from a liberal point of view. He thinks, oh, this is a good idea. We should increase more processing. No, we don't want more processing. We don't want to process more people. We want to limit the flow, right? You see the flow. You're like, hey, we need more buckets. Let's make bills to process more buckets. And conservatives are like, no, we just want to decrease the flow. We want to take the flow down as much as we can. 0 is the optimal solution. We want to cut off the flow because we can't handle all this influx of people. But liberals seem to not understand this. But I digress. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.